The moment I laid eyes on her, I was smitten. Isabella Bellasanto strolled into my office like she owned the place. When she flashed that dazzling smile and introduced herself as my new executive assistant, I knew I was in trouble. I'd seen that kind of look before, that mixture of playful confidence and quiet power, and I knew firsthand the havoc such an intoxicating combination could wreak, because I used to be that kind of woman too. My name is Catherine Tate, and I run Tate Enterprises, a mid-sized company my father started and built into a thriving reality. The demands of my job are many, which is why I prefer working alone. As a CEO, I have my share of responsibilities. I oversee everything that goes on within the corporation. When I received word that my father wanted me to hire an executive assistant, I resisted. I never had one before, nor did I have any interest in having someone shadow me at work. But my dad insisted. "It'll be good for you, Catherine," he told me over the phone, chuckling at my protests. "Don't worry, you'll get used to it. Dad always knows what he's talking about," even if his methods are a bit unconventional. Like when he agreed to set up a blind date for me 6 years ago, which turned out to be the worst decision of my life. How did he find such a man? Well, he was a successful businessman himself, so naturally he had his sources. I met Jonathan Richmond at the most romantic Italian restaurant downtown. At least that's what Dad called it. To me, it looked like a cheap bistro that catered to tourists. Our meeting went as well as expected. Jonathan proved to be arrogant, selfish, and self-absorbed. He expected me to pay for dinner and practically begged me to marry him. Imagine my surprise when my father showed up halfway through the meal with a big smile on his face. He joined our table and announced to me, "This is your fiancé." Before I could object, he continued, "Jonathan, dear boy, you'll be staying with us for the next few weeks. Catherine will show you around the house." In no time, Jonathan moved into my house like he owned it. I drew a line in the sand immediately. No wedding bells for us. I hated seeing the hurt in my dad's eyes, but it was better to be honest than live a life full of resentment. So I ended things with Jonathan, which led to a massive fight with my dad. I hadn't meant to upset him, but it happened anyway. "You ungrateful girl. After everything I've done for you, this is the thanks I get. Do you hate me?" I rushed to his side, tears in my eyes. "No, Dad. I'm sorry. Then prove it. Marry him or move out." Those were my father's exact words. So here I am, running his company, unable to take the next step in my relationship with him until I proved my love for Jonathan. I sighed, remembering that fateful day. "Why are you sighing?" "You don't look well," my dad asked, concerned. I forced a smile. "It's nothing, Dad. I'm fine. Just thinking about how I can make Jonathan happy." He squeezed my shoulder. "That's the spirit. I know you'll make him a wonderful wife, Catherine. He's a good man. You'll see." Meanwhile, back in the present, Bella sat across from me at my desk. She tapped her nails against the surface, waiting patiently for me to speak. I cleared my throat, unable to meet her eyes. "Tell me something, Bella. Did my dad tell you anything about me?" She tilted her head. "Only that I'd be a handful." "Is that true?" I chuckled dryly. "Maybe. But enough about me? Tell me about yourself. Where are you from?" "Los Angeles. Born and raised." And what kind of person do you think I am? I asked suddenly. She considered for a moment before answering. Independent, driven, and loyal, but lonely. Am I right? I stared at her in disbelief. How did you guess? She shrugged. It was pretty obvious. You barely speak to anyone around you, and from the looks of it, you don't even like people much. Well, I do have a reason for that. I hesitated, unsure whether to trust her with my personal matters, but there was something about her knowing gaze that compelled me to share my story. In no time, I found myself spilling every secret, every fear, every hidden emotion to this stranger who'd become my confidant within hours. And as I spoke, I realized the weight of my words, the burden I'd carried for so long. She listened without judgment, her eyes filled with understanding and empathy. And when I finished, she didn't offer empty platitudes or false She simply held my gaze and said, I'm honored you trust me, Catherine. I managed a weak smile, as am I, and that's when I knew I had to do something drastic. I owed it to myself, to my father, to Jonathan. I needed to find a way to break the curse that had bound me to this loveless engagement. The first week with Bella by my side was both challenging and enlightened. I learned that she wasn't just beautiful and smart, she was also incredibly resourceful and efficient. For example, when I asked her to organize a charity event for my father's foundation, she handled everything from securing the venue to booking the entertainment. Her organizational skills were impressive, and the event itself was a resounding success. I could unhelp but admire her ability to juggle multiple tasks at once and still maintain a positive attitude. However, there were times when my feelings for Bella threatened to consume me. I found myself constantly aware of her presence beside me, whether it was during board meetings or casual lunches with clients. Her quiet confidence and sharp wit made her an asset in professional settings, but it also ignited a spark within me that I couldn't ignore. I fought back against my growing emotions, reminding myself that I had responsibilities to uphold. But the harder I tried to suppress my feelings, the more intense they became. One evening, after a particularly stressful day, I found myself alone in my office with Bella. We were going over some late-night paperwork when suddenly the room felt charged with electricity. I looked up from my desk and met her eyes. In that moment, all the carefully constructed walls I'd built around my heart crumbled. Without warning, I felt a surge of emotions threatening to overwhelm me. My breath hitched in my throat as I struggled to maintain my composure. Bella noticed my sudden reaction, and her eyes filled with concern. Catherine, are you all right? You look pale. I quickly recovered and forced a smile, hoping to mask the turmoil within. I'm fine, just a bit tired. Nothing a good night's sleep won't fix. I stood up from my desk, trying to regain my focus. Let's finish these documents tomorrow. We can call it a night now. As I walked toward the door, I could feel Bella's gaze upon me, and I knew she wasn't convinced by my facade. I escaped to the solace of my bedroom, desperate to escape the intensity of the emotions that threatened to consume me. My thoughts raced, my heart pounded, and I felt like I was drowning in a sea of confusion. I tossed and turned in bed, unable to find peace or rest. The quiet hum of the air conditioner echoed in my ears, amplifying the chaos within my mind. The darkness of the room seemed to press down on me, suffocating me with the weight of my own thoughts. Tears welled up in my eyes, blurring the shadows that danced on the walls. In that moment of vulnerability, I wished for someone to hold my hand to understand the torment that plagued me. But I was alone. I had to find a way to navigate this turmoil on my own. And so I spent the night lost in the labyrinth of my emotions, searching for an exit that seemed nowhere in sight. As the first rays of sunlight peeked through the curtains, I knew I couldn't keep this charade any longer. I had to confront my feelings and take control of my life. With a newfound determination, I got out of bed and walked towards the mirror. Looking back at me was a woman I barely recognized, haggard, haunted by the turmoil within. But beneath the weariness, a spark of defiance ignited. I wouldn't let my emotions rule me any longer. I wouldn't let them destroy me. I was Catherine Tate, and I was about to reclaim my life.